computer. I am going to share the screen because I need to tell folks I got a sale going on. It's a
Okay.
Cyber Black Friday, the Cyber Monday sale. Kings of the Castle is only 99 cents. Make sure you go grab your copy. And then 3 other titles of mine, King of Devon, Open Door Marriage, and Loving Me for Me are all on sale for $1.99 off from their normal price. But Kings of the Castle, 99 cents. You cannot beat that. So just want to make sure I put that out there, but let me get on with, hold on, all right, let's slide this one over right here. Boom. Would you look at that?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes. Wolf Untamed. That is Paige Tyler, and it's the next segment in the cavalcade of authors. Readers Appreciation Weekend. I have a tribe member, Siera London, a USA Today bestselling author, is going to take over this segment, and she is hosting Paige Tyler. So take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Hi, Paige. Oh, are you muted? Unmute. I know she like me. Look, I probably need to put my glasses on too.
Can you hear me now?
You there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. I can hear you. Okay. So I'm going to read your bio and then we'll get started, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let me just say hello to everyone. Elena, thank you again for this wonderful platform that you've created for us. I'm author Siera London, and I have the pleasure of introducing my friend and mentor, Paige Tyler. Paige Tyler is a New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of sexy romantic suspense and paranormal romance. She and her very own military hero, also known as her husband, live on the beautiful Florida coast with their adorable fur babies, also known as their dog. Paige graduated with a degree in education, but decided to pursue her passion and write books about hunky alpha males and the kickbook heroines who fall in love with them. All right. Yeah, a few fun facts about Paige. She loves anything and everything Disney related. And if you've been on her Facebook page and seen her Christmas tree with all the Disney ornaments on it, as well as all her little wolf ornaments, you'll love it. She's addicted to dark chocolate, animated movies, Pinterest, and Sephora, and she usually always has her toes done. Painted, all these colors. She studied ballet for 12 years, and she still has a ballerina's body. And one of her favorite movies is the Guardians of the Galaxy, and mine too. Look, you're not seeing me doing my little hip move to come and get your love, but I love that movie too.
Yes.
So, Paige, tell us about your writing journey. Like, you started out in education, so we know you love connecting with people anyway. I think educators, you have to have a passion for people to be an educator.
Right.
But what happened to make you take that leap into something as uncertain as publishing?
True. I always wanted to be a writer, and I know everybody says that, but I did since I was little. I mean, I wrote my first story probably when I was like in second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And I lived on a farm and we had a lot of animals and a lot of cats. So I actually did a story about our cats, but I made them anthropomorphic, sort of like Zootopia. So they all had, they wore clothes and they had jobs and they did things. And that was my very first story. So no wonder I love shifters. And then in high school, my creative writing teacher, she's like, you really have a talent for this. Did you ever think about doing it, for a living, a profession? And I'm like, no. It was just kind of crazy because my aunt always wanted to be a writer, and back then my aunt in the 70s took this, correspondence type course. Remember those?
Yeah.
And she always wanted to be a writer. And back then, without any digital platform, it was really difficult for someone to break in. But I thought, well, I'd love to try it. So I read through all her correspondence classes. I read voraciously anyway. And that's how I really taught myself, I think, to write, was by reading. And I loved it. And then I saw a site that had membership books, ebooks, and you would write like a chapter and you get paid per chapter. So I started doing that even before finishing my education degree. And I really liked it. And even though I enjoyed the teaching, I really felt myself drawn back to writing, and I didn't have enough time for the writing. So fortunately, hubby's really supportive, and we write together now anyway. But he's like, well, you should do that then. So
Yeah.
I just pursued it and worked through the e-publishers, the small press, and finally getting to New York, and then still doing independent publishing too. So kind of hybrid.
No, and I think that's wonderful. I mean, you said so many things that I think we need to hear as a community. But I'm going to jump on one thing that I saw Florenza's eyes light up too, and that's your husband. So from the first time I met your husband with you. You and I actually met at RT.
Yep.
Same place I met Tina DeSalvo and Elena Kai. And we met at a military appreciation luncheon, I believe.
Yep.
Kim Lowe. And your hubby was with you. So tell us a little bit about how you all came to write together.
Well, he also is a voracious reader as a kid and still is. He loves to read. And even in like college with creative writing, he would, write stories and stuff. And we met when he was still in the military. Fortunately, he's retired now, yay. But after he retired and I started writing more seriously, I would always say, what do you think? Because I was the terrible pantster back then. I didn't plot anything. And I'd be like, oh man, I wrote myself into a corner here because it was chapter by chapter. And I'd write chapter 1 or 2. And then in chapter 8, I'd be like, uh-oh, I did something in chapter 2 that I can't do here, I ruined it. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So he would give me like little, well, why, how about you thought of this or thought of that? And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So gradually I would sort of like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then we would start writing together. But he's very much more organized than I am. So he said, okay, if we're going to write together, though, we have to start plotting stuff. We can't just write, all over the place. I said, okay. And then when we wanted to really make that move to New York, we were talking to a writer at the Lori Foster Reader Author Get Together, and she was saying, why don't you take something that's you both know and love and put it together? And what we know is shifters, because I love paranormal, and he too loves paranormal, urban fantasy, and military, and combine them. And that's when we came up with our first book for New York, first series, which was X-Ops, covered here. Yes. Which are combined shifter and military together, special forces. And from then on, it took some finessing to get ourselves to be like, not want to say to the other person, I don't like that idea because I'm afraid I'll hurt his feelings, or vice versa. And now we have it really down pat where we come up with the idea. And well, before quarantine and everything, we used to go to P.F. Chang's, have not been there like since March. Emily is like, oh, so now we have to do books with, that's really difficult. That's like, okay, we need our spicy chicken. So we'll sit there, we come up with the idea, and then we'll write down whatever we talked about. And then he'll begin to draft it in a rough an outline, and really his strength is more heavy on the action, because their books are really action packed, and the thriller aspect. And then a lot of times also we'll put the sex in there because he's really good at the mechanics of it. And I come in and add the emotion and the dialogue and put things so more cohesive together. But each night after he writes, I will look at it before we go to bed, he's brushing his teeth or whatever, and be like, yeah, this is great, or I don't remember talking about this, or we need to go in a different direction. So he doesn't veer off course about what I really want, because as he always says, I have creative control. Right. So usually then I can say, no, this isn't, what we talked about. Or sometimes it'll take me like till the next morning, and I'll be like, hey, that part I read last night, I think we should do this instead. So it's been really successful writing like that. And I think it's good because I think neither of us have like that big ego where we say, I have to be out in front. He likes me to be the face of it. But as you know, everybody knows now that we write together, so we can't. Yeah. No, I'm just a silent partner anymore, because he's really not. He adds a huge amount.
Yes.
So
Yes. Now I have to ask you this because you did start out writing, you know, as a single author. So, and you described some of your process, so I don't have to ask you about that. But how long now that you two are working together does it take you to draft a book and get it ready for New York?
mm, well, the thing is, the New York ones, we started when we first started with New York, like what was that, 2013, 2014. We used to turn in a book every 90 days. So that was, yeah, that was tough. And then we realized, okay, we need a little longer space. So now it's about, I'm trying to think, I think we do around 120 days.
Okay.
About, yeah, I think that's what it is, 120 days turn in. So about that time, like right now, we have a book to turn in the end of March. So we said, okay, December 1st, and actually we started today, where we start talking about the story itself, the outline. The next book in the stat series, the special threat assessment team, they're also werewolves, but it's like Mission Impossible with werewolves. Um, and we are starting that now. So it's a third book, and we are sort of working through the story and what we're going to do with the characters. We know who they are, but who's going to be the bad guy, because the bad guys in there are all supernatural, and we want to make them. A lot of times we try to make animals. We try to make shifters or other paranormal creatures that people have not seen before. Like even our werewolves, they're not bitten to turn into werewolves. They have a gene that turns on if they go through a traumatic event.
Yes.
So the gene turns on and turns them into werewolves. We kind of try to
One of
make it.
those. I need that gene. I really do. I could use that sometimes.
Yeah, I know, right? I always think that. I'm like, I would love to be a werewolf. Plus, all the werewolves in our story, they can eat whatever they want.
Yeah.
I want to eat whatever I want, but
So I know we'll get to your series, but I see all your squishables behind you, and you know I had to grab my squishable because I've done 2 squishable events with you. And this is my favorite because I love kitties. I can't figure out how to make you see him, but anyway, I love kitties and I love to eat. So he's a whole cheeseburger. So tell me where the whole squishable craze came from and how that relates to your books.
Okay, so I think I saw them years ago and I was like, round and you hug them. What are those? But then I sort of didn't think about it and didn't look at them. And I'm trying to think what event we met. Oh, it was Coastal Magic. It's an event down in Daytona. And I met author Ulrich Asher. He writes urban fantasy. I don't know if you know him, but he has squishables with him, and particularly this squishable called the Warble, who is across the room, and I can't get him. Otherwise, I would show him to you. But he had him, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's so cute! What is he?" And he told me all about squishables, and he gave me the Warble, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love him!" So since then, I'm like addicted. So as you can see, my little werewolf. Can you see his face? Oh, it's hard to get him to the camera. Where are you? There you are.
Yes, I see him. I've met him before, actually, I think.
Yeah. Or the little guy. I have the little ones. He's the biggie. But I absolutely love them. And they come in the tiny ones, like the burger he has in his hand, your kitty. They actually sell him just like that, just a burger, the small ones. And then the size you have, and then this size. And they have really big, what do you call it? Beanbag.
Yes.
Version of them. They're huge. So I love, love, love squishables, probably much to hubby's dismay, because now I got like, our exercise room is full of squishables. Exercise stuff, but squishables too.
Well, since I met you, I think I have 3 squishables. This little girly right here stays in my writing office with me, and then I have 2 upstairs, and I bought 1 corgi for my niece. So
did you see that they have the plague doctor? Did you see him?
I didn't. I missed that one.
Oh my gosh, he sold out so quickly. I finally had to get on like pre-order, and finally they came in. I'm like, where's my plague doctor? But they mailed him right around like election time, and then he got like stuck in the mail. Yeah. And I was like, desperate for him. I'm like, where's my plague doctor?
I know. And Elena, what are you holding? Because I don't know if it's a squishable, but it's some kind of little plushie.
I don't know. I figure everybody's grabbing their stuffed animals. I grabbed mine too. This is actually from my niece because I'm here by myself. So every year they give me a stuffed animal. And so I have this one and maybe 2 others. So she started this little tradition with me of having the same stuffed animal that she has. So if she gets one for herself, she buys one for me. So So I'm like, and it was just right here, and I haven't touched it in a minute. It's a reminder of, her love for me. So I just keep it near like that. So I'm just like, hey, everybody grabbing their stuffed animals on. Grab my stuffed animals.
That is so cute.
It is. So Paige, I have to ask you about your series. So one of the things I noticed very early on when I met you is that your New York series actually has diverse characters in it.
Yes.
So tell us about your series, and tell us about why you chose to add diversity to that series.
Okay, well, it's in really all of the New York series, I have to say. Now you sit here so I can hold up the book. In the Special Wolf Alpha team, the new one, they are a pack of 17 alpha werewolves, also female alphas, because I thought diversity has to be, you have to have some female alphas in there too, but they're essentially the SWAT team of Dallas. So you're not going to have, to me, it can't be all white guys, we wanted to have a diverse team like you really have. So he's Latino, Hispanic, as you can see, and we have an African-American hero, which I think that when we did our other interview, it was right before his book came out, right? Wolf Rising. I don't have that in here with me, but we have his book, which I really love. And also, I think it's book 17. Yeah, he's book 17 is the other sort of senior leader in the SWAT team is also African-American. And he is actually his mate, who is the one for him, we call him, because we don't do a traditional mate where sort of he has to dominate her or anything. They're very much equal. So she's a very strong female too, but she is actually African-American as well. So it's going to be, they're going to be an African-American couple, and I'm really excited about that. And in Special Threat Assessment Team, he's Asian American, the werewolf, and he's the hero. So for us, I don't know. Like I said, I think the world is diverse. So why are our books not diverse more often? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's fun because love and romance is love and romance for everybody, I believe, and so why can't we show that? So super excited about, doing that.
Yes, yes. And your latest release, do you want to drop a little bit about it?
Oh, okay, sure. This one came out actually Tuesday. So what, a couple of days ago? So it just released, and it's called Wolf Untamed. And the team, the pack of werewolves, is actually dealing with ordinary people going out and doing things that they wouldn't normally do, crimes they wouldn't normally commit. And one of these people that does this takes a diner full of people hostage. And two of the people in the diner are going to be the one for him, who is Bree, and she has a teenage son, Brandon, who's 16, but he just recently turned into a werewolf and doesn't know what he is. So he's actually what we call a beta werewolf in our stories. And beta werewolves are, we don't have the traditional that you would see in other books. Beta werewolf simply means that he's very pack oriented, but to turn, he still had the gene and went through something traumatic, but he wasn't actually in the act of saving someone. Because if you're in the act of saving someone and sacrificing yourself, you'll become an alpha. But in his case, he happened to be at a convenience store that got held up and he got shot. So he turned into a werewolf, but he doesn't know what he is. So of course, Diego, our hero, knows exactly what he is. So while he's trying to, he really is attracted to Bree, she also has to realize that I have to do what's right for my son too. So I can't just say, oh my God, I'm in love with him. I have to make sure that everything's good with him and Brandon too. And of course, they find out that the people doing all this stuff that normal, ordinary people wouldn't do and can't even remember doing it, it has a supernatural origin, I guess I should say. I don't want to say too much.
Okay, don't leave us in suspense.
Okay, but I do have to say that Bree is like all our heroines. If we don't do just, they're just heroines and they just let the guys do everything. She's also an insurance investigator and she investigates high-end thefts. So of course she does her own little investigating. And I will say that things sort of collide in both their worlds in that regard. So super exciting.
Yes.
This is actually book 11.
Yeah.
And we just turned in book 12.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, congratulations to you both. Now, Lelaine, how much time do I have left?
You got 11 minutes. But I
Okay, good.
also, wait. Let's pause for station identification
Okay.
because we want folks to know who you are. Hold on, let me
Okay.
pull up your screen
All
here.
right, because I'll keep talking.
I know, but you've been doing good. You did good on the reading last night and everything. So I just want to let folks know who you are. My favorite, the Lunchtime Chronicles, and then the Ava and Logan stories. We got Chase and Ava up top, and Second Chance Christmas. Your Christmas book is out,
Yeah.
and this hot cover right here, the Chasing Flames, and also part of Zyla Turner's Lady Guardian series. And then we have Syndra, which is your paranormal. So I wanted to make
Yes.
sure people know about that. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
No.
So, since you brought it up, Nelena, that Chasing Flames hot cover, that's a series that I actually wrote in Paige Tyler's world. Her Dallas, what was it, Paige? Dallas
Dallas Fire and
Fire and
Rescue.
Rescue.
Right.
Yes, yes. So actually, that was one of my first group projects, and I learned so much from you about how to lead a group project, and I have shared
Oh,
what I learned with you. I've shared it with Nelena and other people and other groups. I learned so much from you. So I have to thank you for that.
oh, well, you're welcome. I'm so glad you didn't. I learned so much from you guys too, and I love you. So I was like, I was hoping that we would do the the Zoom together. It's like I haven't talked to you in ages. I mean, physically talked to you.
Yes, yes, yes. So Paige, I want you to drop some knowledge on us.
Oh,
Tell
okay.
us, yeah, tell us about what are some of the tenets you think comprise a good group project? How do we do that? How do you help other authors, network the importance of it, like joining group projects, and how to find a good one? What does it look like?
Well, when I first did group projects, they were all the like the box sets. I
Mhm.
don't know if they're even as popular now, but that's how I started. And I did some group projects that were awesome and led by some awesome people who had everything, they weren't all disorganized, and they also listened to us in return, so they didn't just do everything. And then I had gotten involved in some that weren't so good. Everybody wanted to sort of do their own thing. With the Dallas Fire Rescue Kindle World, it was good because you guys could all do your own covers. And that was something I really wanted you to be. It should be your book in my world, not you writing like me. I wanted everybody to write themselves. And I understand that even in that, there are some world leaders that, that sounds weird, Kindle world leaders, I mean, that were very, no, you're going to do it my way. Every cover needs to look like this. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to be your stamp on it. And I think that's something that's super important. So you should feel that you have ownership of your own books. Yes, you're writing in this anthology or whatever, or this box set, but it should still be your book. Every book shouldn't be like the person leading it. And I was fortunate enough to write in Kat Johnson's Seal World first. So I had a really good example of what she was doing. And that's where I got that idea where she pretty much let us do everything, because I was the only one in that world that wrote shifters in it. So I actually wrote sort of like an XOps one in her world. So no, it had nothing to do with that, but she was cool with that because it brought a paranormal aspect. And I think I was like the only one that wrote paranormal in there. But that's what you really want. Someone that you can work with, like the box that I did with, do you know Coco Brown?
Yes, I know Coco.
I did a box set with her and they were awesome. She was so awesome at putting that together. So you just want someone who's like you is best to be friends with, I guess, first. It's
Yeah.
weird to say that, but if you're friends, it's so much easier. Do you know what I mean? If you're like, sometimes that's the worst ones I did where people I didn't know asked me, but I didn't like to say no, I mean, I've learned to say no now because I don't like everybody to like me. I don't want to say no, but those are the ones that I found that I regretted doing. The ones that were really successful were people I already worked with and knew. And like when I met you, I could tell that we were going to get along right away. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were like so cool. And we sat there and we looked at the book and stuff. So you were really like, I could tell that you would be easy to work with. That's something else. I think if you are leading something, it's best to try to get people you know are going to be easy to work with, because who wants to have a project where everybody's fighting, about whatever, even if it's just the smallest of stuff they're going to argue about. So it's best if you can all have fun with it, because if you should do something, you should have fun with it. That's how I feel about writing. It should be fun, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'm all about fun, as you can see.
No, you are those babies.
With
So,
the six-pack abs.
yes. Oh, we appreciate six-pack abs.
Yes, we do.
Right. So, Paige, you've been around. You're a veteran of this industry at this point in your career, and I want to have fun, but I'm going to ask you the hard questions too. So, where do you see publishing going in 2021? News just dropped, earlier this week that the Big Five is now maybe the Big Four, with Penguin, with Random House publishing Simon and Schuster. So what are your thoughts on where publishing is going in 2021, and what does that mean for our industry?
Right. Because I think I remember you asking me this question even on your podcast when we did it at RT. And
Yeah.
wow, I mean, I hate to say scary, but can be scary. I think the best of both worlds, if you can, is to be hybrid if you're with New York, mainly because you don't want to just depend. At least we don't want to just say, okay, all our eggs in that basket, because what happens if they decide we don't want to publish romance anymore, or whatever, whatever you write. And sometimes you can pivot and take it somewhere else. But sometimes if you're a person that writes romance, they're going to say, well, nah, you don't really write straight thrillers, so we don't want you to do that. We have enough thriller writers, or we have enough whatever. And a lot of times I fear that New York's going to go with more the nonfiction books and not fiction sometimes. And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, but I always worry about that, because when you see a lot of books that they put out, they're very much nonfiction. This athlete writes a book or writes a book. I'm not saying they don't, but a lot of times, there's someone helping them write. But that's not what you or I write. So we can get into that, I don't believe. And if you are going to write nonfiction, you have to be an expert in that field, and how many more books can you write on writing? And I know that some people love to read writing books, but like I said, I learned from reading fiction, reading romance, reading Harlequins back then. That's how I learned to write. So that scares me. So by doing indie stuff, like our Seal series is indie, you have control over everything you're doing. And I think those digital platforms are always going to be there for us, but I worry that sometimes the New York platforms might not be. I'm with Sourcebooks, as we mentioned before, and I do love them. I think they're one of the few that will still even publish paranormal. You'll see a lot in New York, they don't want to touch paranormal, anymore. I don't know why, because I'm like, paranormal is so awesome. Why doesn't everybody, want to publish it? So that scares me a little bit. Do you feel the same?
So go ahead, Nalena, because I can tell you're itching to say something.
My fear is, there already was the Big Six, and they were the gatekeepers. And there are a lot of good books that didn't make it through because some of the people that are the editors or the gatekeepers, they were just college women coming out of, and they really liked books that appealed to them more than they really studied the market and said, oh, we need to have a diverse brand of authors in our house, which is how it became a little bit uneven when it came to diversity. And my fear is now we went from Big Six to Big Five, and now we're Big Four. And the more that we have a conglomerate like that, that is a gatekeeper, I think the field is going to narrow on what they published overall, and their focus is going to be on mega sellers.
Yep.
Only the books that are going to make them a lot of money, where when there's a lot of authors that started off with them that came from Harlequin or was self-published, they didn't start off making a lot of money. They built them. They built their brand, and then they became where they're making them a lot of money. I fear that they're going to cut that process and go for people who are already there and who can already make that money versus building brands anymore. They're not going to
exactly
and the energy into developing their mid-list authors to make them New York Times and bestseller and multi-million-dollar seller authors.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's why I'm a fan of being hybrid.
Yes, yes. And I absolutely love being an independent published author. But it is a very dynamic playing field. And you do have to be a student of the industry, especially if you did not start hybrid, where you've had some of that New York machine or even a small press machine kind of
Right.
pushing behind you to get your name out there. If you're like, it literally you're pushing, up from the ground with no power of the machine behind you. So I absolutely agree with you. So
And
on
a
the
lot of times, oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
so funny. A lot of times, I mean, while New York does certain promotion stuff, you still have to do so much yourself, especially if you are not there, Stephanie Myers, let's say, yeah, her, but otherwise they just feel like, oh, okay, well, of course, you're gonna have to do your own stuff. So
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that too, because I think it's a fallacy to believe just because you got a book contract that you still don't have to work really hard to gain market share for that book.
and sometimes you may not be a lot of times with New York, I mean, while I love it, sometimes you don't have the control you're going to have over this book. Do you know what I mean? I can say, yes, I want him for this cover because he looks exactly like how I picture the character. But I mean, I've even run into, don't make your heroes blonde, because we can't find any good blonde models. I'm like, really? I mean, I know I see some. To me, he's got dark blonde hair. Plus, not everybody has to be platinum blonde. People, he can be like dark blonde. That's dark blonde brown. It's almost the same, And I'm like, oh my gosh, the silly things. Or we can't have a green cover because green covers don't sell. Silly things like that.
Wow. Okay.
Just because they didn't sell all the way back in the 70s. I'm like, this is not the 1970s anymore, people. Have a
Indeed,
little fun with your covers.
indeed.
So unfortunately, I can't say that because they do give me really awesome covers.
Yes, your covers are beautiful. Go ahead, Elena. What were you saying?
Okay, and we're gonna find out where can we find
Paige, where can we find you online, Paige?
Okay, you can find me at paigetylertheauthor.com, and that'll have all my links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what am I, Pinterest. I also have a tab on there for charities that I really like and support, and I'm a big supporter of animals. I love animals, so all my charities are for rescue animals, but I also do have some military charities on there that are really good, or the charities especially that work with animals. And I even have some children's books now. I don't know if anybody knew them.
I did.
But I draw and illustrate them because I started out too as an artist, drew all my life. So I'm enjoying those, but they're under the name Pippa Tyler.
Okay.
So you can see it has a little tab there. It'll say children's books by Pippa Tyler. So
Wonderful.
awesome.
Well, congratulations, Paige. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Cavalcade of Authors. It is always a pleasure to
thank you. Thank you so much for asking me. You guys rock.
Thanks, Paige. You too.
Anything you need, just let me know.
I will do that. I will.